Wow. What an interesting topic I chose for this video, right? Fascinating. I need to be very careful about what I say because I'll probably upset a couple of people. But the reason I picked this topic is because while investigating the situation of fellow content creator Stick, Sex, and Hammer, I noticed that a lot of people, especially on Twitter, were saying that, well, he's a Satanist. So it is expected that he would have the type of behavior from a person that identifies with such a thing, right? Like he's a degenerate, he's a Satanist. And I want to address my thoughts on it. I'm not a Satanist myself, by the way. But I did grow up in a generation where a lot of people identified as such. And it's important to differentiate between the several types of Satanists that exist. And I think that the ones of my generation are very different than the ones you will find on Reddit. And also very different than the ones you will find on other places of the internet. Basically, when I grew up, most people were extremely religious. Like, highly so. Forcing you to go to Sunday church type of thing. Forcing you to grow up in a Christian way. And the hobbies that we had back then were very different than the ones that exist now. Back then, there were no computers, you didn't have smartphones, and one of the things that most people did was listen to music. It's actually difficult to describe that you would have a person just locking themselves in a room 4 or 6 hours a day with no television and just listening to music. Like, that's it. You put your music on, you put your headphones on, and you listen to music. And that was entertaining. And there were different types of music. Obviously, there was rap and hip-hop and Michael Jackson and whatever, you know. But some people like listening to rock. And I don't know what exactly was about rock and heavy metal in particular. But I think it's the aesthetics of the band, right? So here you have a band, Kiss. It's not even heavy metal. Their music is quite tame. But as you can see, the iconography, the showmanship would freak the living hell out of a Christian person. Like, if you had a grandma that generally believed and she was a pious person, and obviously, like, she wanted her nephew to be a pious person, and she would see the album looking like this, she would believe that is the devil's music. And oftentimes, the parents would react very violently and unhinged. Like, they wouldn't try to do anything more than a surface look at the type of music that people listen to, and declare excommunicado. And it wasn't just you're not allowed to listen to this type of music. It was also you're not allowed to be friends with someone that listens to this type of music. And they would, you know, enact various punishments. I mean, it's Eastern Europe. In some cases, it was physical. In other cases, it was just you're supposed to lock yourself in your room and don't go out until you purify yourself. And then take you to Sunday church even more often. Now, this type of behavior, this type of parenting, where the child doesn't understand why it's wrong, because, again, the music itself is very tamed, and from the perspective of the young adult, it's just the iconography, and they're just trying to be edgy, and the parent is being unreasonable, and they're not open for discussion or debate, they're just open for censorship. So what the child will do is he will double down. And it's kind of like, you know, when the anti-racist movement started on the internet, where every single joke would classify you as a racist or sexist, to the point where some people went like, no, you know what, fine, fuck it, I am a sexist, I am a racist, right? It was the same thing with these individuals that were like, you know what, fuck it, yeah, we are Satanists, yeah, sure, why not? Now they didn't actually worship the devil. They didn't actually go into the woods and draw pentagrams or whatever. But it was more like a rebellious nature towards the parents that they viewed to be completely unreasonable and disconnected from reality. Because this is not just with rock music, but it was also with Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you would have some people getting together in a room and they would play and pretend to be wizards or something. And again, grandma was horrified. It's like, how dare you play this game where you think you're a magician? You're like a warlock, you're possessed by demons. Watching Harry Potter, that was also satanic. Pokemon was satanic. A lot of things were satanic when I grew up. it's difficult for people that didn't grow up in my generation to actually understand. But it's kind of the same, like, everything was racist, sexist, blah, blah, blah. Back then it was everything was satanic, right? And then the moral panic just moved to something else. I'm pretty sure we're going to go to a new moral panic after the woke one. But that's why a lot of people started to identify as Satanists. Again, like, it wasn't an actual cult or a religion or anything. It was just to piss off the previous generation. Now, moving forward in time, there are a new type of Satanists that arise. And this is like the Reddit tier of Satanists, right? And these are ideological people. You can't really call them social justice activists at the time. Some of them were probably from my generation as well, and they were just upset that Christians are enforcing the rules and moralities upon them that don't make sense. It's like, don't watch Pokemon, don't watch Harry Potter, don't play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's like, fuck off, mind your own business, because now it's not even the parents, it's other people. And usually people don't enjoy strangers telling them what to do. Like a lot of people can accept their friends or their families telling them what to do. But then when it's a random stranger, you build this level of animosity and hatred towards the stranger that's telling you what to do, especially if it's a stranger that wouldn't help you if you're stuck in a ditch, but would be the first one to criticize you. So they formed this atheist movement, which then morphed into Atheism Plus, and some people started debating with Christians, and it was, you can't do this and this and that because it's religious discrimination, right? Like, I'm a Christian, you can't discriminate against me because I have a religion. Meanwhile, the atheists didn't have a religion. So then the atheists are like, okay, well, we're going to create the flying spaghetti monster, and that's our religion. So now you can't discriminate against us. And some people even formed the Satanic Temple, which is a very woke institution. It's a hallmark of progressive ideology. But that's completely different than, the people that like to listen to heavy metal. Like, that one is ideological, it's concentrated, it's with the purpose of destroying Christianity. So basically, like, if the first quote-unquote Satanists were just like LARPing, if you will, and they had no interest in actually destroying anything, the second generation, the ones with the Satanic, they are specifically targeting Christians and the Christian way of life, and they're trying to dismantle Christianity, basically. They're trying to do activism and trying to be offensive towards Christians, trying to marginalize them. I don't know if it's in their mission statement, but through their actions, through what they're doing, it's pretty much interesting. And it's also funny because during COVID, they were for lockdowns, for wearing masks and other shit. I don't know if they actually worship the devil, but I do think they're doing everything possible in order to piss people off, right? So if they think that something will upset a Christian, they will do it. Like, they would go out of their way. And of course, they support the Democrat Party, I think. But there's also, like, another type of Satanists, which genuinely believe. And it depends from where they're getting the knowledge. Like, it depends if it's just a cult, if they did the research individually. I mean, there have been examples of cults that actually did believe in this, and they did perform animal or human sacrifice and stuff like that. So the stories are real. I can only describe them as mentally deranged. And in some cases, they can be harmful. In other cases, not so much. It depends on the person, as I mentioned, where they got their knowledge from. But it's important to understand the distinctions. And it's also important to know, like, why a lot of these heavy metal bands would have this type of thing, because it was considered to be edgy in the past. Now edgy is writing an end tower. Edgy is posting a spicy meme. Back then, you could post all of those. You can even say the N-word out loud. I mean, Hollywood had many movies where they said the N-word. But if you said anything against Christianity when I was born, and even after that, it was viewed just like saying the N-word now. So it's interesting to see, like, how political correctness shifts, right? Like, there's always, like, something that you're not allowed to question, you're not allowed to go against. But after like 4 or 5 years, it moves to something else. It just converts to something else. So Yeah, this is my take. I don't know where Styx is at. Personally, I thought that Styx is a person similar to myself because I like to do a lot of research in various religions and beliefs around the world. Like I did research into Christianity. I read about the saints. I read about a lot of writings from academic scholars, Christians themselves, and I also studied Greek mythology, Norse mythology. Recently, I even looked a little bit into voodoo. It's very interesting. They believe in Loas, and Papa Legba is the one you have to summon. He guards the crossroads, and a lot of people that believed in voodoo, they hid behind Christianity. So, for instance, they would talk about Saint Peter, but in reality, they were talking about Papa Legba as a way to camouflage their religion. So, I'm reading that is it from a that's interesting type of thing. Like when I read about the culture of the Aztecs, it's like, okay, well, it's interesting because there were actual people at the time who believed in that. Like they genuinely believed in that. And it also helps me with my writing. When I run a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, it's interesting if you know actual lore from reality and you integrate it with that, and you can create better fiction. And I thought that Styx is like that, but I don't know if he actually believes. And if he actually believes, then he's not like me, I guess. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.